Three, two, one.
Here we go!
Might be the only brown guy on earth named Joe Bob.
That is actually her name, Joe Bob.
Live from the dingy bunker, completely cut off from the outside world, except for you fine folks. My name is Joe Bob. Thanks so much for tuning in on today. It is Monday, January 29th, the year of our Lord 2023. My name is Joe Bob. I have some thoughts about some things. A lot to get to today. Tragic situation in the Middle East in Jordan, 3 servicemen dead. We'll go over that story. Also, the E. Jean Carroll $83 million defamation lawsuit, quote unquote, win. She's not going to pay any, or she's not going to get any of that money, by the way, just so you know, and we're not dragging you along through the show. What is going to happen with that? No, she's not getting any of that, but we'll get to the details of that. And also, finally, House GOP introduces articles of impeachment for Alejandro Mayorkas, the border guy who, I don't know if you've noticed this, but the border has not been all that secure since Biden took office. So first, I want to get to this, and this is not a fun thing to talk about. 3 U.S. servicemen were killed, 36 and counting were injured in a one-way drone strike over Jordan over the weekend. This is from the AP. President Joe Biden said Sunday that the U.S., quote-unquote, shall respond. He issued a big tweet about it. After 3 American troops were killed and dozens more injured in an overnight drone strike in northeast Jordan near the Syrian border. Biden blamed Iran-backed militias for the U.S. fatalities after months of strikes by such groups on American forces. Now, first of all, tragic situation, and nobody wants to see this, regardless of who is the president of the United States. In terms of foreign policy, I've said this so many times on this show, as well as wherever else I go and talk about things. Domestically, we can disagree all day, all night, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on policy. But in terms of foreign policy, I don't ever want the United States to look weak on the world stage. And so the criticism of the president and the administration and the offices that he runs that control the foreign policy that the U.S. holds is not something I want to be criticizing necessarily, unnecessarily, because I don't like the president. I don't, but at the same time, I put a bigger emphasis and a higher priority on the U.S. remaining strong on the world stage, regardless of whether or not I agree with the president on domestic policy. And so, knowing that, it's difficult but also necessary to criticize how and why this happened. If you're not following this, we haven't talked a ton about this, but the AP reports that U.S. forces in the Middle East have now been attacked more than 150 times by Iranian-backed forces in Iraq, Syria, Jordan, and off the coast of Yemen since Hamas decided to attack Israel on October 7th. In other words, this tragic and unfortunate situation seemed to be inevitable. And I don't say that lightly. I don't want to be like, well, who could have seen that coming and make a joke of it. But at the same time, this was going to happen at some point. And also, I don't know that this is going to be the worst of it. If you haven't been following this, and again, we haven't been talking a ton about it, the U.S. has been attacked 150 times, and by luck and circumstance, nobody has been killed. There was a missile that lodged into the barracks of a U.S. outpost, in November, that just happened to not go off. And there was no response from the administration in the White House or even at the Pentagon. If you remember 2 or 3 weeks ago, we also brought a story that there were insiders saying that the defense and command center officers were not happy with Joe Biden not allowing them to intervene in the ways that they saw fit and necessary. And on one hand, I understand the idea of being slow to react to a stoking the flames of what is going to be an inevitable war. But at the same time, you can't just allow the smaller, weaker bully to punch you in the face repeatedly over and over and over again just because he's smaller and weaker. No, you have to set a precedent that that is not okay. And so I wanted to bring this clip. This is somewhat of a montage of Joe Biden as well as Kamala Harris and Antony Blinken, the Secretary of State, and how strongly they are saying to the Iranian-backed militias, don't do anything. Now, you'll watch this, and then we can get to what they probably should have said and how they should have said it and how they should have responded much sooner. But watch this short clip and get a flavor of how deterring our administration is. Check this out.
What is your message to Hezbollah and its backer, Iran? Don't.
What's the message to Iran?
Don't.
It was very important to send a very clear message to anyone who might seek to take advantage of the conflict in Gaza to threaten our personnel here or anywhere else in the region. Don't do it.
Again, I don't want to sit here and say, well, I told you so, and we all saw this coming. But at the same time, at the time when Joe Biden was on 60 Minutes and Kamala Harris was getting interviewed and Antony Blinken was on all of the talk shows talking about this unfolding situation, everybody with a solid head on their shoulders, and I would imagine even people in Biden's own DOD were saying, that's it? That's the response? We're getting attacked here, and the response that we're giving to the world, but also to Iran specifically, is don't. How about you beef that up a little bit? And again, we were all saying this at the time. And I don't know, this is so difficult because, again, I don't want to belittle or downplay the tragedy here and go off the rails just for the sake of going off the rails, even though I'd like to. I would rather the Biden administration, rather than get, I mean, obviously I think they need to pay a political price, but I'd rather them fix the freaking problem to ensure that U.S. troops are safe, as opposed to just hit them for political gain. And so, yeah, maybe you should beef up that statement a little bit. Hey, what are we going to do if we find out that Iranian-backed militias are attacking U.S. troops? Now, to play the other side of the article, the side of this, I think Lindsey Graham said, go attack Tehran, which is the Iranian capital. That's probably a lot. Maybe don't necessarily do that. I wouldn't go as far as to say that, but at the same time, Joe Biden has famously been weak on what he wants to do militarily. Remember, he was the only person in the Obama Situation Room that said, maybe we shouldn't go after bin Laden, and did not approve of the raid that ultimately killed arguably the most evil terrorist in the world. So, all that being said, again, you hate to say I told you so, but this is the tweet that Joe Biden put out. Last night, 3 U.S. service members were killed, many wounded during an unmanned aerial drone assault. I don't know why they had to put unmanned. That doesn't do anything for me except for absolve him. Say, well, no specific person. Anyways, unmanned aerial drone attack on our forces stationed in the northeast of Jordan near the Syria border. Then he gives his thoughts and prayers, obligatory. But then he says this, have no doubt we will hold those responsible to account at a time and in a manner of our choosing. I don't know if I like that language. Just because you know that team is lawyered up in saying, we are going to say this, we're going to use this word, we're going to use that word. Why did they choose to use the word unmanned? Does that make it any less bad? I don't think so. And then to say, we will hold people to account at the time of our choosing. Again, I'm looking for some stronger language there. And a lot of people didn't like how Donald Trump would handle these sorts of things, but it proved to be effective in a lot of ways. He didn't say, we're going to hold the responsible actors to account. He said, no, we're going to obliterate anybody who even considers and thinks and plots out an attack on American troops, either domestically or abroad. We will obliterate you. And maybe you hated that, but it's hard to argue that it wasn't effective. There was that phone call. Geez, I remember I was talking about this on the Candace show. Geez, wow, when they still had guests way back when. That John Daly, golfer, was on the phone with Trump, and somebody recorded the phone call, and Trump said, you know, I said to Putin, I think at the time he was talking about, that if you try anything, we will obliterate you. And he's like, they maybe believed me 5-10%, but that's all you need. And so that being the metric, and I think he was right on that, but that being the metric, I wish the administration would be a little bit more harsh in their tones to maybe stoke a little bit of fear in the hearts and minds of the people who apparently have no fear of consequences from the U.S. military, the biggest, most powerful military on planet Earth. And that's about all there is to say about that. Again, not a good situation going on there, and I hope it. I hope we obliterate those people regardless of the language of the Biden administration, and I hope they fix their rhetoric as opposed to. You have to bludgeon them with the political bat for being this soft on this, but at the same time, I'd rather them fix the problem now than specifically have to wait for somebody else to get in office to actually do it. Speaking of problems at the administration, this is a little bit more lighthearted and comical. It's not really, because it's still a massive problem, but at the same time, holy cow, at least it's not as tragic of a story as we just talked about. To open the week, wow, we're starting off the week in a rough spot. But anyways, this I thought was fascinating and interesting and about time. But the Alejandro Mayorkas, on Sunday, Republicans released the articles of impeachment against the DHS Secretary, Alejandro Mayorkas, the guy who's in charge of the border. Now, I don't know if you've heard about the border lately, but it's a little bit chaotic. Just I'm getting this from, anecdotally looking around and seeing kind of the chaos unfold in the lefty cities. We obviously haven't talked about that much here, but the border is out of control. And if something is out of control, what should you do about that? Should you, take the person that is in charge of that and make them accountable for the chaos that they have caused? Under the direction of the White House, by the way, but still, the dude is in charge. Well, no, that seems too... oh, no, wait, that's exactly what you should do. It is amazing to me that it has taken Republicans this long to file articles of impeachment against Alejandro Mayorkas, again, the DHS secretary under the Biden administration, because of the craziness that is going on at the border. Now, I do want to... Well, okay, so this is ABC reporting about this. House Republicans released Sunday 2 articles of impeachment against Homeland Security Secretary. They accused him of willful and systematic refusal to comply with the law and a breach of public trust. So those are the 2 articles of impeachment. Willful and systematic refusal to comply with the law, which is true, and breach of the public trust, which also should be true if you're watching any of this. Anytime he goes and testifies in front of any of the committees on Capitol Hill, he says things that are he says that I am not wearing any clothes. Well, no, sir, you clearly are wearing clothes. No, I'm not. That is what he sounds like when he's on Capitol Hill. Says something so completely not true, and He's too smart to know that it's not true. In other words, he's lying. He's not ignorant, he's lying, which is worse, I think. The chairman of the Homeland Security Committee, Mark Green, who's a Republican from Tennessee, says, these articles lay out a clear, compelling, and irrefutable case of Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas's impeachment. He has willfully and systematically refused to comply with immigration laws enacted by Congress, and therefore has breached public trust in making false statements to Congress and to the American people and obstructing congressional oversight department. Now, none of that should be surprising. The Department of Homeland Security put out a statement saying, well, there's no evidence to say that this didn't happen. And that's, you expect that from them. What you don't expect, really, is for a bigger, I don't want to say more powerful, but a journalist outlet to say the same exact thing as that. Let me, oh shoot, I pulled up that, uh-oh. How do I undo that? There we go. Oh no. Wow, we're all over the place. What was I trying to pull out? Oh, there we go. That's what it is. I was trying to do this. Let me bring up this article from the Washington Post because their headline on this was amazing. And I don't mean amazing in a good way. You expect the denial from the Homeland Security Secretary himself and his office, but this was the headline in the Washington Post, a supposedly respected news outlet. House GOP unveils Mayorkas impeachment articles despite a lack of evidence. Oh shoot, look at this evidence on camera right here of the Border Patrol lifting up razor wire so people can illegally come into the country. Oh look, there's evidence right here of him blatantly lying in congressional testimony. Oh look, there's evidence over here of them fighting with the state of Texas because they're not complying with the law that exists. But yet the Washington Post says, well, without evidence. At this point, the Republicans might as well claim the sky is blue because the Washington Post will print an article saying there's no evidence of this atmospheric phenomenon that they call quote-unquote blue. But just to show you some evidence, here, watch this. This is some clips of the razor wire. And I'll tell you why this, I think, is hardcore evidence of him breaking the law as opposed to, well, no, they're seeking refuge. This is a clip that you've probably seen, but here you go. You got a big old tractor run by Border Patrol with a bunch of people going under. Turn that down, but people coming through the border in an illegal fashion, crossing into an area that is they're not allowed to cross there. Good words there, Joe Bob. This is illegal. They're not allowed to do it. But yeah, that is the Border Patrol doing blatantly an illegal thing. And now, I call that an illegal thing. One, because it is, but two, because I think there's a lot of conversation on the lefty side of the aisle. Well, no, they're refugees. They're seeking refugee status here. They're seeking asylum in the United States. Okay, so then why are they crossing illegally? And that is illegal, by the way, because there are 27, just in Texas alone, there are 27 legal places of entry into the United States where you can legally come and you can say, I'm here seeking asylum, I'm a refugee of this country, and I would like to, again, seek asylum in the United States. And yet, even though those 27 ports of entry, legal ports of entry exist, Mayorkas and the Border Patrol are lifting up razor wires in areas that aren't legal entry points for people to just come in and they can just come into the country. If that is not willfully ignoring the law of Congress, I don't know what is. And yet, the Washington Post, a supposedly respected news outlet, says, well, there's no evidence there. Okay. There's no evidence that bears poop in the woods. There's no evidence that the Pope wears a funny hat. Like, what other obvious thing are we going to claim? There's no evidence here. I don't know. You would think, too, considering how underwater their guy is, I'm talking about Joe Biden, on the border crisis, they would not give him such an easy pass on this. This also, in that same article where the Washington Post said, well, there's no evidence here. The very, 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 very bottom of this long article, it says, the political pressure on the Biden administration to address the immigration problem has been growing. Last month, 249,000 illegal crossings were recorded along the U.S.-Mexico border, the highest monthly total ever. I don't think they're doing me any favors by pretending that the problem doesn't exist. Anyways, moving on to this, because I think this is interesting, and the political persecution of a guy who I don't like defending, honestly, continues. You might have heard on Friday that E. Jean Carroll, who, dude, we haven't talked about this a lot because I'm not in the courtroom and I don't care about this. But this is past the point of silliness and absurdity. On Friday, a judge awarded $83.3 million to this lady who claims to have been raped by Donald Trump, but doesn't remember even what year it was, and has no evidence other than two friends that she talked to after the incident and the Billy Bush recording. That's it. Oh, and a photo of them, I think in '97, which is not a lot of evidence to stand on there. But nevertheless, she quote-unquote won the first civil suit, which was set to be awarded. Okay, let me not bury the lead here. She ain't getting none of this money. All of this is being appealed and will eventually just go away, because that's how all of this stuff works. This whole, she's being awarded $83.3 million. Not going to get $83.3 million. She might get a little money in a settlement out of the appeals, but there's no shot that she actually gets all of that money. One, because of how ridiculous it is, and that's what I guess we're going to continue to talk about. But two, the Trump campaign, or the Trump team, his legal team has been like, yeah, we're going to appeal this. This is insane. But if you recall, a couple months ago, a court found that she was sexually assaulted, but wouldn't go as far as to say she was raped, which was a weird thing in and of itself. And this particular case was a defamation case, which in a defamation case, you're allowed to sue for damages, but that would assume that the damages that she would have, if not have been defamed by Donald Trump, she would have earned $83.3 million. The whole thing is just total and utter crap. And yet we, are subjected to the crappery that is this political persecution of, again, a guy that I'm not a huge fan of defending, Mr. Donald Trump. I'm going to vote for him because he's going to be the nominee. But at the same time, I wish I wouldn't have to defend his position in this crazy stuff, because that's what this is. It's crazy stuff. All that being said, watch this lady, who's not going to get $80 million from the former president, go on, I think it's Good Morning America on ABC, and talk about it in a way that only furthers the case of this is political. You just hate this guy. Watch this.
The elation was so great on Friday. It filled me up. It was almost painful. It's taken really every day. Today, I'm just very happy because I'm calm enough to realize what she did.
It's been reported that you exchanged smiles with the jurors on the way out. Is that true?
Yes.
What was that like?
Well, it was very moving. It made me burst into tears because they met my eyes for the first time. It was very moving.
You said you want to do great things with this $83 million settlement. Give us an idea about that.
Don't want to waste money. Well, I do have an idea. I'd like to give the money to something Donald Trump hates. If it will cause him pain for me to give money to a certain to certain things. That's my intent. Well, perhaps a fund for the women who have been sexually assaulted by Donald Trump.
Are you confident?
Yeah, that sounds like a totally unbiased take. Now, obviously, she has a bias, but George Stephanopoulos there, pretending that she's going to get all of that money, which I think is its own crock of crap in and of itself, but then say, well, what are you allowing her? I'm going to do something with it that he hates. This is just a media story for the sake of being a media story. None of this is actually going to matter in any way, shape, or form. There's a part of me that's just like, this is too stupid to, in a country of our might and power and intellectual prowess and our ability to provide a lifestyle that has surpassed any lifestyle in the history of planet Earth. The fact that this is a thing that we are talking about and pretending is real blows my freaking mind. And then like to kind of admit, yeah, the jury and the judge are in on it. I don't know. I have one more clip of this crazy lady. She's kind of one of those attention people that loves the attention and is probably doing all of this for the attention to begin with. But this is her hosting a TV show through the night. Around the time that she doesn't remember the year that this interaction happened, and yet is for some reason being awarded $83 billion by a judge, which she won't get, but everybody is pretending that she will because they don't understand what an appeal is. Watch this other clip of this lady, just again give you a better idea of who she is and whether or not we should believe anything that she says or take her seriously in any way, shape, or form.
Yes, my darling Flopsy Pudding, the biggest man-handling trick of all is to know that there is no trick. All you have to remember is that you're a woman, and if you're a woman, you're precious, okay? Yes, my darlings, chasing men is the highest amusement there is, but man-handling the difficult little buggers is something else. Call me. You got some questions? We're live. Is anybody out there calling? They've all switched off. It was a dating game. I'm so embarrassed. 1-800. It's not the dating game. I hate that music. I hate that music. I hate that music. This is not the dating game, my darling Flopsy Gravies. A melancholy proposition is before our beautiful Moira. She's either going to prove herself to be a complete nitwit as a man-handler. Suppose I have to come and get you. Here I come. I'm going to come and get you guys. Okay. Where are all these ugly guys? Is there anybody here?
All right, so this continues to go on. What kind of person? And I'm not saying this in like a what kind of evil person? No. Just like think about it. What's the personality type of a person that hosts a show and then acts like that during the show? Is it a sane, well-adjusted, reasonable, logical, rational person? Or is it a nut job that likes to, and has proven to in the past, do publicity stunts in order to gain publicity? We're not the courtroom, we're not litigating it, so we're not going to go too much into that, but even though we could. Bottom line is she ain't getting none of that. And by none of that, I mean she's not getting the $83 million. So all the people that are outraged by it, it's fine. That's fine. I understand the outrage because of that. That would be infuriating if, with what's going on, that would be maddening. This is maddening, but also know that there's an appeals process and know that this lady's not going to get $80 million. Kind of a downer show today. But that'll do it for us today. Appreciate you sticking around, tuning in. If you haven't already, give me a follow on any of your social media platforms. Just type in JOBOB. You'll be able to find me pretty much anywhere. But anyways, appreciate you sticking around, tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Yeah, see you then. God bless America.
Hey.
Check it.